Here in the Arizona Republican AZ Central newsroom, I'm Richard Relister with columnist Bob Robb. The talk towards like marijuana legalization seems to be that it might come through a ballot initiative that creates a scheme of recreational marijuana dispensaries, but you have a slightly different proposal about how it could be implemented better, which is just to decriminalize growth and small possession of marijuana. Why do you think that's the better idea?
Well, because we still have this no man's land legally between the federal law, which declares marijuana is illegal, and various state laws, including in Arizona, that says, well, no, it's legal for these purposes, or in 11 states for all purposes, including recreational. It just doesn't seem to me appropriate for the state to be saying we're going to set up this vast regulatory structure for a business that's illegal under federal law. I believe that it should be ultimately legal, but until the feds act to decriminalize it at the federal level, I think the sensible thing to do is just remove state penalties for small quantities. So that would permit individual cultivation and use and small friend-to-friend transactions, but wouldn't be the state purporting to say this is a legal enterprise when federal law still says that it isn't.
Do you think voters are more comfortable with the idea of at least some regulatory body being in charge of how marijuana is dispensed, rather than saying for personal use or cultivation, you're okay?
I can't discern where the public would be most comfortable. And I'm not opposed to a commercial marijuana business. It just seems to me that we ought to wait until it's not illegal under federal law before we set up this vast regulatory apparatus. I will say that there, at least in a couple of respects, this proposal, which comes from the medical marijuana industry that wants to control the recreational industry as well and quicken its day of arrival from a commercial standpoint, they have made some good improvements to what they proposed in 2016, which was rejected. They're not asking to, in essence, self-regulate by having a large number of seats on the regulatory body that oversees the industry, and they are at least allowing the regulation of potency for edibles. Curiously, they aren't permitting regulation of potency for marijuana which is inhaled, and I don't understand the distinction. And given the growing evidence of a potential link between high potency marijuana and psychosis, I think from a public health standpoint, that's a major omission, but at least for edibles, they have taken the step of allowing limits on potency.
It seems like before the question was, should marijuana be legal or not? But now it seems like you're proposing the question is, does it make more sense to decriminalize it for personal use versus set up a scheme where a lot of people make a lot of money and the state's involved in regulation? Do you think there's any political will to look at it that way and decriminalize it for personal use?
The first part of the initiative largely does that. And there's no evidence at present that the legislature is going to be willing to come in with a competing proposal. But there's still the possibility, as this continues to develop, and public sentiment in favor of legalization, or at least against criminalization, grows. There's an outside chance that the legislature might step in with a less extensive step that might be more in keeping with this tension that exists between state law and federal law.
We'll see what happens if they get together in January and do something besides sending it to the voters.